The number one goal when playing Dynasty Fantasy Football is, of course, winning your league, but there is so much that goes into just winning your league any given year, let alone building a super team that can win multiple years in a row. However, there are certain tendencies or habits that the best Dynasty managers acquire over time to be able to become a Dynasty champion. So, the first habit that champions do is simply just forming a process or operating under a set of guidelines that optimize your chances of success year over year. And this could look very differently to many different people. Some of you out there could be so far into the weeds that every single trade or waiver wire ad is a strategic analytical move that serves a greater purpose. You could have some hard and fast rules that you never ever go against. Things like, I never draft day 3 running backs in the first round of rookie drafts, or I always sell running backs before they turn 27 years old, or Justin's favorite, I always sell rookie wide receivers who don't eclipse 500 yards in year 1. All of those and more could be part of your own personal Dynasty constitution, if you will. But fundamentally, everyone who wins in Dynasty has some sort of process, because without it, we're just dogs chasing our tails out here with no clear direction in sight. It's the same as anything else in life, right? I mean, you want to lose weight? Well, you have to follow a very strict process. You want to save money to buy a house or buy a new car? There's a very strict process to that as well. There are many different ways to reach those goals, but every single way is a process, and Dynasty is no different. The second habit that champions do is staying active year-round, because in Dynasty, there is no off-season. This is the fun part about being in a Dynasty league. Stuff happens all year long. Less than a month after the Super Bowl is free agency, which can massively shift player values based on who leaves or who's being added to certain teams. And then like 6 weeks after free agency is the NFL draft. Again, another huge value-changing event in the Dynasty world, and then you have your rookie drafts based on that. Then throughout the summer, we're getting bits of information around rookie minicamp and OTAs. Then official training camp starts in late July. Then we have preseason, then regular season. Then it all circles back and repeats itself the following year. And all while these year-round events are happening, players are getting traded or retiring or getting injured. Coaches are getting fired or hired or promoted. It's just a constant, ever-changing landscape that you need to be able to keep your finger on the pulse of. Otherwise, you will fall behind and miss out on opportunities to buy players cheap before they explode or sell players before it's too late. The Dynasty managers who consistently win are the ones who are able to follow everything all year long and position themselves properly to take advantage of ever-changing values. We can't predict the future, so we can't prepare for everything, and you will get blindsided even perhaps multiple times in a single season. But the best Dynasty players take control where they're able to take control by knowing potential free agency impacts, NFL draft impacts, preparing for injuries with extra added depth, and taking shots on unknown situations that harbor a lot of risk, but also have a ton of upside. Now, in relation to staying active year-round, the third habit that champions do is staying active on waivers. And waivers in Dynasty aren't like waivers in redraft, because every Dynasty team is usually rostering 25 to 30 or even more players on a single team, which makes the waiver wire extremely dry most of the time. But do not underestimate the waiver wire. Every single year, there are a handful of players or more that you can add from waivers that make an impact on your roster, either by you being able to trade them away for a future second or third round pick, or by actually being a productive player in your starting lineup to help you win games, make the playoffs, and ultimately win a championship. And sometimes, on the very extreme chance, you can find long-term stars for your roster on waiver wire. For example, coming into this season, a ton of Dynasty leagues may have had either or both Kyren Williams and Puka Nacua on waiver wires, and now both of them are top 10 assets at the positions after league-winning fantasy football seasons in 2023. Jerome Ford, Zach Moss, Keaton Mitchell, Gus Edwards, Zamir White were also on a ton of waiver wires throughout the year and were very productive at different points in the season that could have also been sold for second-round rookie picks. Or all of those backup quarterbacks who ended up actually helping a ton of people make the playoffs, like Josh Dobbs, Jake Browning, Tommy DeVito, Joe Flacco. All of them were largely waiver wire ads throughout the season. And this happens every single season. Players come out of nowhere every single year. So do not underestimate the waiver wire and stay active all year long. The fourth habit that champions do is knowing when to cut bait on a player and taking what you can get. So often I see managers holding on to just dead assets because they're waiting on one good game to raise their value and then be able to sell, or one puff piece article saying that the coach wants to get him the ball more and that raises his value so you can sell. No, Stop doing that. Sometimes it's okay to sell low. Even if low is way under the price that you paid for that player a year or two ago, doesn't matter. Sell low, because the only people who drown on a sinking ship are the ones who stay on it.
You're that smart.
Let me put it this way. Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes?
Morons.
Let's take, for example, this tweet that I posted about Christian Watson's dropping value recently. If you still have Christian Watson, it's time to get out and sell low. But some people want to wait for a bump in value before doing that. You know who else is still waiting for a bump in value to sell him? People who have Chase Claypool or Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore or Juju Smith-Schuster. Because while you think that that value for this player is at an all-time low, trust me, it can get lower. Let's go back to Chase Claypool, for example, who last January was at the lowest value of his entire NFL career since being drafted by Pittsburgh. If you had held on to him waiting for his value to rise again, even just a little bit, it never did. He continued to lose value every single month until now. He's probably on your waiver wire because you had to drop him. But had you sold Chase Claypool for a third-round rookie pick last year, you could have drafted Chase Brown or Luke Musgrave, someone who is exponentially better or has way more value right now than Chase Claypool. Or maybe even you got lucky and you drafted a Jaden Reed or potentially even Tank Dell. Those can all happen had you just traded him away for a third-round pick. Sure, you definitely could have drafted Zach Evans or Darnell Washington or someone like that, but at least you re-rolled the dice to get someone better and just ended up in the same exact spot anyway because you had to drop those guys if you had drafted them. So don't wait on dead assets on your team to come alive again. They're dead. And you also don't want a zombie on your roster either. So cut bait and move on. All right, now the fifth habit the Dynasty Champions do is subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit that like button on this video. Okay, but seriously, the final habit the champions do is they acquire future rookie draft picks. It's as simple as that. Think of this as the 401k or the Roth IRA of the Dynasty world. We are investing in our future and our ability to be flexible with the direction of our team. There is a reason why rookie draft picks are so important in Dynasty, and it's because they're the only individual asset that allows you to improve your roster in multiple ways. You can either trade them away for veterans that score points now, or you can draft a rookie who hopefully scores points in the future, or ideally scores points right away, depending on where you drafted them. Rookie picks never lose value, they never get hurt, and they don't take up a roster spot. They are quite literally the most liquid asset in Dynasty, and that is why they are so important. They're currency. They're literally currency in a Dynasty league, and whoever has the most picks is always the most popular person every single year. So how do Dynasty champions leverage this? They acquire as many future picks as they can. It doesn't matter if it's a first or second or third or fourth. Doesn't matter if it's next year or 3 years from now. All that matters is that they acquire as many as they can while still maintaining their competitive edge this season. They do this by trading down within tiers, like trading away Jalen Waddle for Michael Pittman and a future second-round pick, or trading down between tiers, like Saquon Barkley for Tyjae Spears and a first-round pick. They trade away excessive depth for future picks, like if you have Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, and Evan Ingram on your team, then you trade away Trey McBride for a future first and second. Or you just trim the fat, trade away dead assets like we just talked about, like Christian Watson for a future second, or Darnell Mooney for a random third-round pick. All of these are the many ways that you can continue acquiring future draft picks. And the whole point of this is not to sell all of your players for only draft picks or sell your best players for only draft picks. Don't do that. Remember, the idea is to stay competitive and win, but also be investing for the future. And you don't need to draft rookies with all of those picks either. Use some of them to trade away and upgrade a position, or package a couple of them together, buy that breakout player that you really, really want, and then draft a couple of rookies that you like with your remaining picks. The whole point is to remain flexible with the direction of your team. If some of the guys that you were betting on don't hit or get injured this year, then you have rookie picks to lean on and replace those guys with better options. Or if you start competing quicker than you anticipated, then you have some extra assets to leverage to make your team even better. The best dynasty teams that actually become dynasties are the teams that have an excellent core of veterans that are young and productive now, while also having a multitude of future picks to continue improving that team every single offseason. That is where you want to be.